I love this. Faithfulness of Yeshua the Messiah. Jesus was faithful. We look at his life, and it's fine. He's following God. He's good to his parents, and then he goes into ministry, and we see God working through him. But we really see the final test. The final test is in Gethsemane. Let's go to Matthew 26. And this will be a nice segue into sharing the Lord's table. Jesus was faithful. It's his faithfulness. It's his trusting God that takes him to the cross. We have to think about that. So Matthew 26. So I want you to get the weight here of what's happening. Jesus was a man, fully God, but fully man. And that's really hard for us to comprehend. But I think here we see, we say the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. And here we see Jesus fighting his flesh, is what we see here. Verse 36. Then Yeshua went with his disciples to a place called Gethsemane and said to them, "Sit here while I go over there and pray." He took with him Peter and the two sons of Zebedee, which are James and John. Grief and anguish came over him, and he said to them, get this, this is what he said to them. "My heart is so filled with sadness that I could die. Remain here and stay awake with me." Going on a little further, he fell on his face, praying, "My Father, if possible, let this cup pass from me. Yet," and then I've got a long pause here, "not what I want, but what you want." He returned to his disciples and found them sleeping. And he said to Peter, "Were you so weak that you couldn't stay awake with me for even an hour?" Don't look at that as God chastising a follower. I see that as Jesus leaning on his friend saying, "Couldn't you just hold on? I really need you right now." This is Jesus saying to Peter, "Couldn't you stay awake with me? I really needed you to stay awake with me. Stay awake and pray that you will not be put to the test." And also because he's warning them, because he knows they're about to be put through a major test. And this is where we get that verse. "The spirit indeed is eager, but human nature is weak." A second time he went off and prayed, "My Father, if this cup cannot pass away unless I drink it, let what you want be done." And again he returned and found them sleeping. This time he didn't wake them up, and he went back. A third time he prayed the same prayer. This is he knows the cross is coming. He knows exactly what's going to happen. And it is weighing on him. His heart is so heavy that he could die. And we see in Luke, I think it's Luke, that he sweat blood. And that happens when you're under extreme stress. Extreme stress. So he went off and prayed a third time, saying the same words. And then we see in another, I think it's in Luke, we see that an angel came and strengthened him and encouraged him. And he gets up to go. But that's Jesus wrestling, I think. This is my opinion. With his, I don't want to say fear, but he knows what's coming. He knows it's going to be torture. And part of him would like to run away. Sometimes God asks us to do something, and it's like, oh, no, that's too much to ask, Lord. I think I'm going to go now. We see that with Jonah. Jonah didn't want to go preach repentance to Nineveh, so he got on a boat to get as far away as possible. But Jesus didn't run. He said, "Your will be done." And that's his faithfulness. And it's because of his faithfulness that we're able to trust in the salvation that he's brought to us. That is why he deserves our praise. Why the Father has exalted his name above every name. That is why. Our word excruciating, as in pain, comes from the word crucifixion. When you're in excruciating pain, we say that. And it's really an exaggeration. Because we have no idea. If you ever want to get really humbled, it's a good thing to do on Easter. Study what a doctor says the body goes through. during crucifixion. It's really ghastly. And that is why we say he trusted unto death, even the death of the cross, the most brutal form of execution may be ever conceived. It wasn't any death. It wasn't a bullet to the head. It wasn't a knife to the heart. It was torture. Absolute torture. And that he was faithful. He withstood all that for us. For us. So let's remember that as we partake of the Lord's table.